Alright. This is not the apology stream. Alright, let's see. It says it's going now, so I'm known as herobattousai, but you can call me Sally, and your name is?
Daphne?
Hi, Daphne. So we've got some photos over here on Just Press Cosplay. We like to educate other cosplayers about making costumes because I have bought costumes from somebody that made mine, and I'm walking as Botan, and somebody tells me my costume is falling apart, and it's the saddest thing ever. So I decided that I would learn to make my own. And
Okay.
also in buying from somebody else, they didn't tell me what to buy. So I bought the wrong materials. I bought the wrong stuff. It was very frustrating. So it's kind of like a let's educate others kind of a thing because I've
Okay.
learned from experience. So I
Right.
guess this is you up here in the corner here as it's going to be you as Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Because it almost looks like the background is Sound of Music-ish.
Yeah, I know. I didn't do the background. That was edited by the photographer that took the photo. But the costume itself, it was something that I did. That was actually the first costume that I did like from scratch.
Okay.
So it is pretty hard when you really don't know how to sew.
Yeah. So is
Yeah, but
so
I'm sorry.
I know. Okay. So my other question is, did you teach yourself or how did you learn to sew?
Well, at the beginning, I guess, just because you need to, you have to do a lot of research. You have to, YouTube is your teacher, and you can just auto teach yourself, like just research and research and hours of research. That's what I would recommend. That's what I did. And so my mom actually knows how to sew by pattern. So I actually had a few patterns already that I have bought at Joann's or any other places where they sell these type of patterns. But I never had, like there's no, not that I know of, there's no bell pattern, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I actually had to get some like vintage patterns, and I actually just had to like lay them on the fabric and just like sketch them out. So I had to use a part of a blouse and then a part of a skirt, and I just had to like figure out exactly how to, but they're pretty good tutorials on how to they teach you how to sew. And I was like, okay, so I have my patterns, and I feel comfortable and confident enough that I won't mess this up. And that's pretty much how I did it. And you know what I mean? I have, this is like a good thing and a bad thing because I try to do everything as perfect as possible, but that's also not a good thing because you need you will mess up eventually,
Yeah.
and I don't like to mess up, I like to get it done at the first try, and sometimes it's hard for me to be like, it's not exactly like I wanted it to. So, but I think if you want to like be really happy with the concept at your first try, it's just amounts and amounts of research and actually believing in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, you don't feel confident enough, it's not gonna work.
So I see Wonder Woman here with the creepy Ninja Turtle. Like they're the second creepy Ninja Turtles. Because the first one, I was at a convention wearing a computer CRT helmet with no lights in it. Because my second edition has lights in it and it lights up, it moves, and when I press a button, it changes channels. So he comes up to me in this creepy Ninja Turtle costume, is like, "Why don't you change channels?" And I'm trying to tell him I'm not a television, I'm a computer monitor. I keep reiterating that, and he doesn't get it. So you guys have like the second less creepy ones, but I noticed. Did you use what you use for your Wonder Woman costume?
It's all out of foam.
Oh
It's
wow.
all out of foam and vinyl. The skirt is vinyl, but everything else is just um foam, EVA foam.
Did you buy the sheets, or did you? Would you buy your sheets from?
Well, I get them online or any other like Hobby Lobby stores and stuff, or Joann's or any other craft place that I see them like on sale because I try to, like get them as cheap as possible or I buy them in bulk and I like it. I saw this girl and she posted a tutorial that was like 2 years ago. We're talking about 2 years ago when nobody actually has seen any Wonder Woman. There was just like the teaser trailer and stuff like that, and she came out with this really beautiful, awesome tutorial on how to make the Wonder Woman suit, and she just like picture by picture just would teach you how to do it, and I was like, yes, I feel empowered, so I'm gonna do it. And it's pretty cool because she was pretty accessible though. I actually PM her way back because I wanted to like get some feedback once I was like almost done with it. But it's pretty much I only use foam, plastic dip, and acrylic paints. That's it. Spray paint, of course,
Yeah.
because you can do you can do really like um s- like not patchy. You don't want any patchy colors in your suit, so spray paint is like go with it all the way.
Yeah. That's I'm always leery of using what do you call that, Mod Podge, because if it
Oh,
gets wet, because I've got necklaces that people have Mod Podge for me and they get wet and they're ruined. So I'm like, if I make this armor out of and use Mod Podge, I don't know if I can go out in the rain. So I've like ventured out into asking art gurus and people out there in the world. I'm like, what can I use if I'm doing this that I can get out in the rain with it? And they've given me like some heavy duty stuff, and it's like pricey. It's like almost is like it's like almost like car. And they're like, you might as well just go with like the car gloss, the stuff they use over cars, because then you'll be waterproof. But I'm like, I've looked at it online and it's expensive, and I'm like, I don't have that type of money right now. Maybe when I become a millionaire, but I'll be like, but then I'll have somebody make my costumes for me. I was like, no, no, I still would be like, I like to make my own because it makes me, if you feel better, like you've made it, and you're like, when people go, oh wow, what'd you get? You go, I made this, and you feel proud of yourself. It's like a sense of pride.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, yeah, I totally agree with you. Being to say to everybody else like this is mine, this is made by my own hand and my own ideas, and I had to come up with pretty much like everything that I'm wearing. I think it gives you also like a little bit extra, and you're just not just you are not categorized more as a cosplayer, you're more categorized now as a cosmaker.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool. Plastic, it's for me, it's the cheapest way that you can go, looking really cool. I actually wore the Wonder Woman suit at WonderCon 2 years ago, and people came up to me and actually said that if I did it with Warbler. Because Warbler is super expensive, and I'm like, no, it's just EVA foam. And everyone's like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. So that was a pretty cool compliment for me to receive that EVA phone would look as amazing as Warbler because like we all want to look as amazing as possible or as alike as the character. So that to me was really really amazing for those type of compliments. But yeah, I mean, plastic dip, I think it's like $6 a can. I get it at Walmart, and it's easy to use. You just do 3-4 coats of it, and that's it. It's pretty much. And funny thing is, if you don't wanna like, everybody says like, oh, you should prime it first and then do the whatever. I don't do that, to be honest. I just go like for the red because the corset was already red. I was like, I'm gonna buy red plastic, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I'll just skip the whole process of me having to prime it and then paint it. So that's what I did.
What is your favorite con you've been to so far? Like of all time?
Oh
Like,
gosh. Uh I guess there's always gonna be a soft spot in my heart for San Diego Comic Con, just because that was the first Comic Con that I attended to. The first time that I went there was in 2005. So that was long time ago. That was when you were able to go. into the second floor, purchase your ticket at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and it was just, and you would get a discount because it was already late for you to enter the con. So I was like, and now it's crazy.
Um,
And now it's crazy just to get a ticket.
so I've been to some cons, and I don't want to bash them, but they were poorly run. Sakoshi Con, and it means, I guess, shrimp con, and it was a small con, and it was at the airport, down by my house. So we thought, well, we'll go to the hotel at the airport convention, and we got there, and they said no rave, no nothing. It was horrible. Like, you had to be quiet, you had to keep it down because there was pilots sleeping. And I said, you don't understand, people around other people of their, once you get a community of people that share their liked fandoms, and they feel like they can express themselves, you've let out this like herd of people. It's like trying to herd cats. You can't do it. So with that being said, what is probably like one of the like cons you regret going to? Like, you know, you spent that money and then you're like, I wish I hadn't.
You know what? I haven't gone to like really small cons for me to say like, oh, you know what? There's no. I don't want to say this, but I've come to some places here in TJ, that in Tijuana, that's in Mexico, and they're anime based, but it's there's not enough. I mean, there's no point of comparison. I've been to like, it's kind of like a swap meet, but with anime related, theme related, kind
Yeah.
of like, it's not a con. It's just like a bunch of vendors just selling their stuff and calling it a con, which is not a con. But I guess that would be it. And I shouldn't be even saying that because I'm probably getting some heat. But I mean, I won't name names.
Oh
I would
no.
just leave it. Yeah.
No, so there's the thing going around. I noticed it's cosplay is consent, and I totally agree with that. Of the, at my con, there's a con. I don't know if you know. It's called Dragon Con. It's the southeast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the largest con I went, and apparently one of the girls said a guy got handsy with her, and ripped off her. She was wearing what gamers like to call female armor, which is a bra and
Okay.
underwear. And, you know, but hers was like tastefully done. Like, it looked like it was really great. I loved her costume. And she said that when the guy asked her to go back to her bedroom, she said no, and he grabbed her and ripped off her top. And
Oh
from
my
what
God.
I understand, somebody was able to quickly cover her up, or she was able to cover up. But do you feel like that happens in Wonder Woman, where guys are like, "Let me grab you" and stuff like that? Do you have any fears of that?
You know what, to be honest, people always gonna try to take advantage of any situation, not just con related, and it will happen. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't been really groped, but I've had like some like, like a rush of feelings of something that somebody just like tried to grab my butt but couldn't. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
moved like quickly enough for them to actually do it. But people, when they're trying, like even when you're trying to pose, some of them might try to like really hug you or try to touch you like in a weird place. Like they always try to grab you like from the waist, but some of them would want to grab your hip or lower, and you're like, no, dude, that's not gonna work. So I mean, I totally get it. I mean, cosplay, it's so there's so many different types of cosplay that I can't say that, oh, because she was wearing a bra and she was in underwear, that means that she's allowed to be disrespected, because that's not how it works. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just, she liked the costume, she's gonna wear it, she wants to feel pretty and sexy and as the as the the character she's portraying. So I mean, like, yeah, I mean, we're allowed to wear whatever the hell we want and be respected, because we are not wearing it outside of the con. We're in a convention where this is allowed. You know what I mean? If I was wearing a bra and an underwear like outside, like with like no, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just because. I mean, I know people are gonna name names and they're gonna be like saying like very very mean things, but that's totally different because like it's not the place. It's
Yeah.
not the place. So I mean, if you're at a con, it's totally It's totally like allowed to, and you're not allowed to grope or touch or say anything indecent to anybody just because they're wearing, like really skimpy clothing. That's not it.
So one of the other things I had was is when you go to a con as a female, what are some safety? Like my thing is I'm always like leery because like I've gone and I've seen guys and they started one day they were making comments about women, and I looked at them and I said, Admiral Akbar says it's a trap, and they go, oh, you know what's up? I said, no, I just know females. I said, I know how some females are where they'll tell you they're of age, and then you get into a room with them, and then all of a sudden they start crying, whatever, you know. And I understand like both sides of the story, and then all of a sudden you're stuck, and you've slept with a 16-year-old girl, and now you're going to have problems. But on the other side of that, there are guys that are like chasing your tail. So like, do you go with groups or do you generally go by yourself? Is it like a safety measure?
Um, no, you know what? I'm pretty old, and by saying that I'm pretty old, I'm 31.
Okay.
So I'm not. There's like I don't know how to say it, but like once you tell them your age, they're go like, oh well, she's I guess experienced or she knows what's going on, so it's gonna be even harder to pick her up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Plus, I'm also married, and I mean, it's a very different scenario. I sometimes go with my husband, sometimes I go with friends, but to be honest, it's not like a group thing. I pretty much usually go in pairs, like me and another friend. I
Okay.
I did. I did do the going alone thing at a con, but it's pretty hard. I mean, you always gonna have to have a wingman because that's the person that even he or she is gonna be able to even I mean, I don't want to say that they're gonna be like wingmen. I say like they're gonna be able to like hold my stuff while I pose
Mm.
for the pictures. You know what I mean? Because there's some costumes that you can't just roam around just with the costume. You're gonna need somebody to help you with your purse or your card or your ID or whatever it is because there's not gonna be something in your wardrobe that you can build just like an unseen pocket. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean I don't really go alone. I do go alone at Anime Expo because I work there. I am a staff volunteer at Anime Expo, but I don't cosplay there. I just go there as, a staff and it's pretty different scenario. So that's why I like, okay, well, I can just go alone and just, roam around because I'm not in costume.
Mm.
But if I'm in costume, somebody always needs to be with you.
Do you notice the difference from volunteer to like because I've never volunteered, so like do you notice like on the volunteer side of cosplaying or being at a convention, do you feel like because sometimes I noticed at a convention sometimes people will be like, well the volunteers this year were just so rude. And granted I understand like they're doing their job and they're trying to make sure that you're safe. Do you notice like do you have more respect for the volunteers that you volunteer yourself or
I do volunteer. I'm actually a volunteer at WonderCon and San Diego Comic Con. I volunteer there and I volunteer at Anime Expo, as I mentioned. And it's Anime Expo, the position that I'm in is not just like the lower volunteer part. And I don't mean like lower just because like
door
the least amount
greeters?
of hours that you work. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like I work like 8 hour shift at Anime Expo, but at WonderCon and San Diego Comic Con, I only work 4 hour shifts or 3 hour shifts, and so that's pretty much the difference. But at San Diego Comic Con, I work there 3 hours, and it's super fun, and I totally encourage it for people who actually want to get into the volunteer experience. It's a pretty good experience. I will say this, depending on the department, it's gonna be more work or less work. That's for sure. And I mean, but it's still gonna be work. You're still working. There of course there are amenities after you're done with your shift, but it's still work. And I don't think that you need to be rude to someone to tell them that's not okay.
Yeah.
There's always ways for me to tell them, like, ma'am, I'm sorry, I apologize, but that's not something that I'm able to do. If you don't like the way that I'm telling you something, you probably want to go up higher, like with my manager or my supervisor or whatever it is, so that you're able to resolve the issue. But just saying like random, no, that's not the way that you're supposed to.
Mm.
Please go back away or something like that. I mean, it always sends the tone of every scenario so that you're always people are gonna be like, oh, okay, thank you, and then just turn around and walk away, or go any other around somewhere else. But yeah, I mean, I love it. I love volunteering. I think it's fun. It allows me to connect with people. I love making friends, so volunteering always allows you to make friends at any convention. And as I mentioned, like some of them have amenities, and that's also a plus.
I've never been to San Diego Comic Con. Is it pretty fun?
Oh, it's the best. Like I totally, totally recommend for you to come, or anybody else to come. It's I mean, like I would say this, like I've heard of Dragon Con, but I've never gone to Dragon Con, and I would love to go to Dragon Con because I know that I will have an amazing time. So that's that's the same way with San Diego Comic Con. The best of the best. You're gonna see lots and lots of people. There's a lot to do and a lot to see. You, I've been there and going there for most of the part of my life that I never get to do or see everything that's on my list because there is so much to do. And every single year they add even more and more. And you're like, oh my God, I want to do everything and see everything. And it's just like, that's not going to happen. So you're always going to have plan A or plan B or even C and D so that you can always like work with schedules and times and stuff.
Yeah, Dragon Con. Well, this year was my first year because my boyfriend kept like saying we need to go, we need to go. So we went, and he bought tickets, and it was one wild party. It was fun. I saw a lot of people with alcohol. I saw small children, and I was like, this guy's walking around with those IV bags that you should be using to inject in your arm, but he's converted them, and he's converted these into liquor bags. I was like, I don't drink
Oh,
myself, but he's just
uh-huh.
walking around here, and he goes, this happens at Dragon Con. It's a normal thing. And I realized that only going to like local cons because I have
Hmm.
like respect. Like there's one con I hold like dear because she's trying to get it going and they do a kids con on Friday and I respect that. Like I understand like and it's growing and it's slowly growing, but I respect that. It's like going to those and then going to Dragon Con and there's like three floors of vendors. I'm like I've never seen this much stuff. Then all of a sudden you're
Hmm.
like all of my money, my budget for Dragon Con was blown, and I'm like, I have to meet all these people, and it was just how do these people like they recognize everybody, and I'm like, okay, at Comic Con I made friends because it was smaller, and I've got like the cosplay amino app, so like who's going to this con? Then I'll meet them there.
Oh, okay.
And that's how like I make friends sometimes, but like at larger cons I'm like intimidated by the sea of people, and I'm like
Mhm.
fighting. It's like fighting like upstream, like a sardine or salmon. Salmon's the phrase, but no, you would probably have a blast at Dragon Con. I would highly recommend if you get to go. Like it is one wild party.
It is added on my bucket list.
Other than this year, they had a girl. She cosplays Loki, and she got hit by a chair that fell out of the 10th story building window of a hotel room, and
Oh my God.
I feel very sorry for her. And two girls got hit. One girl, she ended up in the hospital, and the other girl is all right. She was pretty much, I think she had minor damages. I can't remember, so if someone knows that, they can correct me. But the other girl had to go to the
Okay.
hospital, and her Loki horn saved her from. So I was like, I wonder if
Oh my
I was like, I
God.
wonder if Marvel knows this because if Marvel reads this article, they should totes like do something for her because that would be really awesome. Because I've known like Marvel did something with a kid in the bionic arm because he had no arm or he had a prosthetic arm, and
Right.
Tony Stark came out there, and it was really kind of cool. But I'm like, these larger cons are great. I see lots of things. And then it like when going to larger cons, it challenges me because then I like come in my like CRT head that lights up, and then I'm like, they did something better. I've got to improve myself. So then I go home and I'm like drawing on the board and like sketching out new designs, and I'm like, it's also like a self competition for me. I feel like when I go to larger cons, like they did it better. Let's improve, and then it encourages me. Encourages. I feel like it should encourage others. Like there you go, and I see lots of people not in costume, and they're like, I can't do this. I'm like, don't say you can't, because Kamana told me, don't believe in me. If you can't believe in yourself, believe in the me that believes in you. Not for
Right.
me, but for you. Because if you believe in yourself and you learn that, okay, well, she uses this or that, or I've got this, I can learn how to make Belle. Belle actually does not look very, very hard. Um, then I think that I am confident that I can make it, and then eventually you can get there and make Kill la Kill or any other anime out there, Yuri on Ice. I'm just like, I see those people and I'm like, how they get the crystals on their costume? Like that blows my mind, and I'm
Right.
like, go back to the drawing board and we'll figure this out. So, but um, is there any other things that maybe you'd feel like you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, if this is all about like, I don't mind giving out tips, and even if you sometimes see somebody that you believe that is better skilled than you, I would totally recommend. They're always gonna be nice to you. Most of them are gonna be nice to you, and you probably, if they have time and you're not bothering them like while they're eating or something, because sometimes that has happened to me. Like I'm just like posing for photos, and then I'm like, you know what? I need to take my break and I need to eat. So I'm in like in the chair and I'm about to take a bite of a hot dog, and there's just always somebody coming like, "Hey, can I take a picture?" I'm like, "Okay." Like really? I mean, I'm not gonna say no, but
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm eating right now. You know what I mean? Because I won't be rude. I'm not gonna be rude, because I was like, I mean, that's why I do it. I cosplay for me and for others, and if they love my costume and they want a photo, I mean, sure, go ahead. I mean, I don't mind, right? But sometimes it's like people really I want to eat, or I want
yeah,
to drink, or I want to sit, or I want to relax a little. But that's also really flattering, because that means that they don't, I mean, I don't want to say that they don't mind whatever it is that you're doing, but I mean, they're just so happy they found you right there and right then, and they liked it so much that they want to like capture the moment, you know.
yeah,
But I would totally believe that if you come up to a cosplayer and just like ask them like, hey, can I ask you a quick question, and how did were you able to do this or do that, they might be able to share whatever it is that the technique that they use for their costume, so that you can apply it later. Because I mean, there's so much information. Like the Amino app works well. There's a lot of forums out there that you can subscribe and log in, and leave your comments and reply, and the whole community is just so nice. There's always going to be somebody that's going to be there and help you and guide you to fulfill what your dream cosplay. So um to be honest, I would say this, like, if you ever doubt yourself that you don't know how to draw, or you think that you don't know how to draw, if you don't know, if you believe that you don't know how to paint, I mean, it's always going to be into practice. I always say this. I don't know how to draw. Like, I don't know how to draw. I don't know. I just eyeball it and I start sketching, or I print some items and then I sketch. As I said before, I do amounts and amounts of hours of research, and I go to forums, but always like keep it like, or even if you're browsing something and maybe you see something else, you're like, oh, okay, I should do this. Because like sometimes it's pretty hard for somebody will tell you like, use this type of uh glue, and you're like, okay. And then somebody else comes and say to you, no, use this other type of glue. And you're like, now I have two choices. Which one should I use? Should I spend my money on both and try it on, or who do I believe? So that's why you always, if you're like really doubting yourself, I think that you probably want to just like maybe ask a third person, or just really go on YouTube. Like I do, I go on YouTube. Like once I know how to do something, I go on YouTube and I see it for myself. You know what I mean? That way I know how the result of somebody else trying it works. And if it works exactly like I wanted it to look, then I'll use either A or B scenario. You know what I mean? Like that would be my recommendation for everybody. Like if it's already in YouTube, just look at it, and if it convinces you and if you believe that you can do it with all the amount of research and everything, then dude, go for it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
figured out that I went to armor panel one time, and I had asked, I had asked a question, but they couldn't exactly answer it, and they said, "This is me as Samus," and it's one of my prime examples. And I go, I see you as Samus, but in an armor panel, like I want to like touch and feel and ask questions because I'm very hands on, and I like to look and I'll find a pattern if it's not the right size. I can pretty much make a way, figure out some sort of way, and I've done it before where I can scale it and get it to fit the right size I need to be. And if you like, you're
Right.
like the MacGyver of costume, is like, no, I just see your problem and I fix it. That's how I think. I think, how can I resolve this problem with what I have? And it's wonderful to be like, be that way. Sometimes it's also annoying because then I'm like, I can fix this, but then I don't have the tools or something. But I see them and I'm like, I don't know if this is you made it or did somebody else make it. And then when I ask them questions, they give me undefinitive answers, and it frustrates me.
Mm.
And then I go back and I have to like, so then I like ask people in person that are wearing the costumes, because then I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
one, I see you in it, I know you made it. And so like my friend did Starscream, and I asked her, she's like, well, if you want to learn how to make this, I go from screenshots because I don't have much money. And the only reason
Mm-hmm.
I got into cosplaying was if somebody threw a TV box on our lawn because they thought we were white trash. And that upset me. And she said, so because of that, I thought, well, what can I do with this box? So I decided I was going to make armor. And I did. And I had
Right.
20 bucks. And I made Starscream. And it blew my mind. I'm like, for 20 bucks, you made Starscream. Seriously, for 20 bucks, I made Starscream with some acrylic paint and a giant TV box that we would never, because we can't afford it. And then I realized that you can spend lots of money, you can spend little money, and they say that certain things weigh more or less, but I'm like, how can I educate others, get them out there and entertain them, with something like talking to you or saying, well, what is your favorite con? Why? What did you use? I see you bought this, but maybe you didn't like something about it or it was the wrong color. How did you take off that minute detailing? Because, me doing it, I would tear it apart or, something or other. And then I realized this is a great way. It's interactive. They can see it's you. They can understand. She goes to these cons, like there's cons some people may never heard of because they live in rural areas. They're like, wait a minute, there's a convention in my area, and I'm like, you can find stuff. I mean, you'll find people, but it's getting out there,
Right.
and I appreciate you coming on, and that really means a lot. So thanks for coming
Oh,
on,
thank you.
and
No, thank you. I mean, yeah, I mean, I I've always I always felt like the underdog kind of like. I know that I don't know if any other cosplayer ever felt this way, but I've had I've been doing cosplay for about 3 years, going on to four now. My and So when I started doing cosplay, I've been costuming all my life, and by costuming I mean that I've been dressing up in Halloween like all my life
yeah,
because that's just the way that I was raised. And then I started to find out that you could. I mean, I've known that you can cosplay because I've been going to Comic Con since 2005, but I've never really felt like that need to actually like. I always thought maybe like no, that's not for me, or it looks awesome. I don't think I will ever have the skill. And as you grow older, I was like, dude, I can totally do this. Like, I could totally become the character that I like and I can do. So you start with the basic. The first costume that I did was, well, I didn't do it. My mom made it for me. She made a Daphne from Scooby Doo dress.
okay,
And so I was like, oh my God, mom, thank you so much. Because back then, like, I used to have long hair and I used to color it red. So I already had the hair. So I was like, you know what? Okay. So I got motivated. My mom made it for me. And I was like, okay, now I need a dog. So I went on, I think I was going on on a flea market or something. And I found like a Scooby Doo, like a big Scooby Doo dog. And I was like, yes. So that's the first costume that I did, and I wore it on San Diego Comic Con. And then I was like, okay, now I've done this. Now what do I want to do? And it's like you get once you've tasted the whole cosplay environment and people with the photos and everything and the posing, you get addicted to it. Like cosplay for me, it's like I know some other people might say they have issues with alcohol or with drugs or whatever, but cosplay is my life.
Yeah.
Like for reals. Like cosplaying for me is my life. I love it. And when I say that I'm the underdog is because I don't have from a family that comes from money.
Yeah.
So every single thing that I do, I have to work for it. And I don't have a Patreon account. I don't have any sponsors. Like every single thing that I do is because I like it, I save for it, and I find a way to make it. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes when you start and you don't know how to sew, and you're probably gonna buy items for like from eBay or something to complement like your whole costume, or you can have a friend to help you do it if you don't have the time or whatever, like because I've done that. Like I've asked for friends to do some items of my costume. But yes, cosplay is not cheap. Cosplay, it's not gonna be cheap. The more you can do it for the less the amount of money if you do EVA foam, if you use plastidip, which is like it looks great because everybody wants to work with Warbler, but come on people, like really, I don't have $60 lying around for a sheet of Warbler, like I'm like, you know what, I'll save that for like when I have a Patreon account. No, I'm
Mm.
just kidding. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's like it looks great. I've seen even some friends that they actually they don't even use plastic. I'm like, how can you get that amount of detail and paint without the plastic on it? And I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, oh my god, I envy that amount of skill, but I don't know how to do that. So I'll use my go-to friend, the plastic, and then you probably want to work your way towards that. You first start with clothing, and then you start with a few items that you probably want to build. Don't do armor until you feel really safe and secure about whatever it is you're doing, and you feel that you've acquired the amount of skills that you need. And once you're done working with the armor and the EVA foam and all that stuff, then you can start working like with resin. Because to be honest, I will never, and I probably shouldn't say this because they say never, but I'm never gonna use fiberglass.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I hate it. To be honest, I hate it. If there a way that I can go around it without using it, I will. So, I mean, resin is like your safe side. So, but resin is a little bit more expensive. But why I say resin is because I'm actually going to work right now with some helmets, and I want them to look as plasticky as possible. So you can make EVA foam look plasticky without some resin on it. I mean, you can make it look a little bit like Warbler, kind of like with the plastic, but if you want it to look, plastic will make it look more rubber than plastic. So of course, if you want to use just plastic, you can totally go and buy it, but it's expensive as hell. So just a couple of clear coats of resin, and it'll work the same way. I always try to downsize the amount of money that I'm going to use for a costume because and it still comes out pretty expensive, and but don't be discouraged. Just remember, there's a big triangle, and the triangle that I do is you have time, you have money, or you have so it's time, money, and quality. So remember that you're never going to be able to have the three of them. So probably if you don't have the money, you're going to put in the time so you get a quality result. If you have the money, that you probably will not be able going to put in the amount of time, but you're going to get a quality result. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much how you should look at it. Like if you don't have the money, you know that you're going to be able to put in the time so you get a quality item.
Like I've seen people blow money on costumes and then they get them and they're like, China has done some wonderful things, and they get them and then they go, "What is this? This is not what I bought online." And I said,
Right.
"Yes, it is." And they get insulted. Go, "I just spent like $70." I said, "Well, you could have spent a little more, and learned how to sew." And granted, I've got like a $500 sewing machine because I was like, I want to learn how to use this. I went and researched and talked to somebody that was like a sewing guru. I was like, what do I need? And then I did all my research on the sewing machine and asked questions. And he's like, if you want a sewing machine you can beat to hell and back, then you want a Juki. So I bought one. I was like, well, we're going to spend a little money because I'm not going to have this money later on. And then at least I have something quality. That's the one quality thing
Right.
I'm buying myself.
Hmm.
And I see others and they're like, well, I use like older sewing machines. And I'm like, well, I don't have, they go for lots of money. And I'm like, granted, there's probably maybe 50 of those around, there might be more or less depending, but it's like I don't have the space for an older machine. I just need something
Right.
that sits on its own. But like learning from others is very good for me, because it's like, oh, I can watch this YouTube video, and then after a while
Right.
somebody is sitting there going, are you gonna really rewatch this part 9 times again? You've already seen it 10 more times. I'm like, but I missed this part. I keep on missing it.
Right.
What does she do? Like, what is this part? So I have to rewatch and rewatch, and that's the one thing. So then I'm like, maybe I need to find someone in person that can show me versus like YouTube. And so that's one of the other
Right.
things that I've encountered is YouTube is great, but then also having like an in-house or somebody that can physically show you, because then they're like there and they might get frustrated with you, but it's not like you rewatching the YouTube video 90 times. And so
Right.
I've learned that in costuming, especially with my CRT helmet, it's like I'm wearing it. People are like amazed that I'm sitting there like, oh well, this is how I made it, and they're like, she's gonna show me. Wait, you're a girl under there? Yes, I'm a female. Here's my helmet. Here's what I did. My friend coded it. He passed away. There's no other helmet like it. You can't get it. The code's very special because he coded it in 2 hours. It was a very long process, and there's
Oh.
nothing like it. So I'm like, if I have to repair this thing as long as I can with hot glue, and if I have to like patchwork it, so I feel like I've got like the Millennium Falcon here. I can't go into hyperdrive, but I'm okay because like, well, it works. We can get around, and it's like wearing it. It's like it's very meaningful to me because it's like a lot of time and
Right.
effort and ideas were shoved into it and labor of love, and I'm like, man, this is the greatest thing ever. And
Right.
and then you feel like pride after you're done, and I'm like, this is
Of
wonderful.
course.
And also learning that when you're communicating with others about costuming, you're like, there you communicate with someone that made it, go, oh man, well, what's your technique? Then you find out, well, this, that, or the other, and then they're like, well, I use a Warbler. Well, Warbler is a lot of money, and so you're like, well, for
Right.
$60 I can buy a small sheet of Warbler, or with tax I can buy 10 cans of $6 Plasti Dip. That's 6 more costumes. You math, like I've like sit there and I've
And I can
mathed
make
it
like
out.
10 costumes with
Yeah,
that.
I've like mathed it out, and then like I bought spray paint to spray paint my CRT head because we went as Dafnek, and
Right.
my boyfriend went as the silver Dafnek, and I was the gold one. So we're walking around. I was doing the math. I go spray paint. Then I bought spray paint, and it bubbled up on me. So I had to go, dear so and so spray paint company on Twitter. I'm very angry. This is what my spray paint looks like. And then I'm like, well, just blew money. That's more money that I could be saving towards Dragon Con. However, and then it's like I'm having to communicate with people. Finally, it's like, well, I buy this other stuff. I spent, and then I'm like, now it's like now I've done my research, and I'm like, I know what paints to buy. I'm sticking with this brand of paints. I'm not buying this brand
Right.
anymore. And if anybody asks me, I'm like, go with this brand. They're great. They don't beat up on you, And I'm like, I would like to use these, but then it's like I have to like. Then it's like I've learned that user reviews, and then it's like, well, I read the reviews online, but I'm gonna ask a cosplayer because they know exactly what I'm using it for, and I can get a better
Right.
answer. So
Yes. Yes, that's totally true. Like sometimes I know that I'm looking for a specific item and I probably go to the store and I'm like, I don't know, like let's say like I'm looking for quick seal
yeah.
and everybody is like, you mean caulking? And I'm like,
Mm.
sure. And I'm like, because people don't normal people only see items that we as cosplayers are gonna see for other types of other sources like
Mm.
other stuff that we can build with it and people only go like within the square within the norm that that product was created for, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So I'm like sometimes I struggle with it because sometimes I want to go to the store and I want the person that I'm asking to know exactly what it is that I'm looking for to like read my mind somehow and know what the item is. But I totally get it. I mean, asking among the community is always going to be way, way, way better than just, doing it by yourself. And that's what the community is all about. the cosplay community has to be nice and friendly with each other because we're here to help each other. This is not a competition. Well, a competition only when you're actually entering a
Yeah.
competition. But while you're creating it and making it, and if somebody else wants to do it the way that you want, the way that you're doing it, why not share with somebody else? I mean, the technique is always going to be different, anyways. I mean,
Yeah.
this just because you did it that way doesn't exactly mean that the other person is going to get it the same way or whatever. You know what I mean? Like when you're giving up a recipe, like it's going to taste different with any other person, even if they do it exactly the same, you know? So, I mean, it's all about sharing and just being nice to everybody. I think that's what cosplay is all about.
Yeah, I liked one of my things was people asking me, about my costume, and I'm showing them. I said, Adam Savage told me, share your technique, share your biggest thing.
Oh.
He did this. There's a thing. It's called a maker fair, and he goes every year, and his maker commitment was share your stuff. Don't hoard. Don't
Hmm.
be like a dragon. Don't be greedy like Smaug. Don't hoard your techniques. Share it, because if you share it, like if I share like that. Oh, did you know with silicone caulk 100%? If you mix in baking powder and soap, you can make silicone molds. It saves you half the cost, like considerably.
What?
Yes, you. I
That just blew my mind right now.
Yes, you can do this. I went to Instructables and there was an article on it, and they showed me how to make it.
Right.
I made fangs for somebody's furry costume that way because they didn't know how to make
Oh.
fangs, and I knew how to make fangs
Right.
because I was attending dental school at the time. So I learned how to make fangs.
Oh.
So I learned that, and they're like, share your techniques, share everything, because then one day they'll come back and say, you remember how you told me how to do this? I figured out a better way to do it. Then your mind's like
Right.
blown away by it. Then you're like, I've been doing it this way for years. This cut my time in half. And he's like, because
Right.
they'll come back with you with a better way to do it. And then you
Right.
realize that you're growing your mind, yourself, others. And he's like, cosplay just isn't like, a community of people that make stuff. It's a community that has a chance to share their ideas. And hey, well,
Right.
don't mind, like, I read online and I saw Yaya Han's fabric and I was like, oh, it looks pretty. Then I read online a lot of people had problems with it. So I
Mm.
like and I was like, oh man, it's pretty. And I said, well, at least the community came back with me with a reply, about it, because I was reading about it. And there's an itchy. One girl got rashes, and I was like, well, now I know not to buy it. And it was very upsetting to me because I'm like, she's a beautiful cosplayer. I respect her,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I don't. I have like a love hate for Yaya Han, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, yeah, like I have I like her patterns, I like her stuff, but some of the words
Right.
she's chosen for me is like, well, she kind of made choicy words about cosplaying and your body type, and I'm like, I believe that if I want to cosplay, I can cosplay as long as I cosplay to fit my body type. If you want to cosplay Chun Li and you're 400 pounds, you can, but you gotta cosplay to fit your body type, and I'm all for that. I'm like, hey man, cosplay Sailor Moon if you want to, dude. Just cosplay to fit your body type. Like that's my biggest thing is wear that costume. Because you might love Sailor Moon, but just fit your body type. Like make sure that you like I need a little room here, or adjust it so that it fits you. Because that's one of the other things is pet peeving in cosplay is you're wearing something and it doesn't fit right. And I've seen people and they look like they're about to fall right out of it, and they're like it hurts, and I'm like cosplay to fit your adjust it. You can take it out. You can go to a tailor if you're not sure, if you're worried about it. You can find a tailor and say, hey, how do I adjust this? You can figure out ways to sneak around, and if you ask the community and they give you good feedback, you're just like, man,
Hmm.
because nobody, like, I've never met somebody that's like, I'm never going to tell you how to make my costume, except for one person. But they were kind of like in this really, really bulky costume with giant wings, and they looked like they were heaving, so like they were tired with every step they took, and I understood that. So I was like, I respect you not giving me your information because you look tired in this massive winged costume with a giant arm that's like as tall as me, and I'm 5 feet, so I'm like 5 feet arm sticking out there. So I respect that. Like, and she's like, I can't even get upstairs. I didn't realize this convention was so small. I was like, oh man, it used to be at
Hmm.
a college that was even smaller, and
Right.
we've grown to a larger
Hmm.
convention center. And but I've met everybody, and like it's like shared their stuff, and I'm like, I appreciate you sharing, because then that gives me like a way to be like, now I know what to do and come back and give you better
Right.
techniques. But
Yeah.
well, thanks for coming on. And we're gonna do this here. You have your information here, which is you're on Twitter at Dafnek17. You can find her there, guys. And Adventurer Aurora on Instagram. And there,
Yes.
sorry, the one of the screens I'm gonna display the just capture there so that it is black. But you can see her at Adventure Aurora on Instagram, guys. Be sure to follow her there. And we are on Instagram at BorgBham, and Facebook, it should be just BorgBham, all one word there instead of the dots, because apparently a lot of people, it comes up almost as a spam thing, but that's not where we are. And we have a website, BorgBham.com, and our belief is that if you don't know what to do, or you're worried about making something and you live in the Alabama area, I've got people that will show you how to do these things. You can pick their brains, ask their minds. The Replica Prop Forum is also a good place, guys. They have a website and a Facebook group, and I think cosplay share, like, and promote. If you've
Yes.
never made anything before, don't be afraid. Just ask. One of my favorite things is, and it bugs me and all the time, is I'll get somebody that will go on and they'll ask me questions about technical cosplays with LEDs and lights because I'm more experienced with that. And then they message me at like 3 o'clock in the morning and they're like, how do you salvage parts? And they look at me and, you know, they're waiting for a response, and I go, what do you mean salvage parts? And I'm waking up to this, like, freaking out message, and then I said, send me pictures. And I go, oh, dear God. And they go, well, you told me to do it. No, I didn't tell you to do it this specific way. Research. I said, research, research, research. Then research some more. Once you think you've researched enough, you can never research too much. Like, that's my biggest thing, is research all the time. Then watch videos over and over and over. Ask somebody, even if you may not think they know something. Say, hey, does this look right? And then go,
Mhm.
well, I don't think so. Even if they've never done it, your human instinct will kind of be like, I don't think that looks right. And so these groups are out there, and you may feel intimidated by, oh, well, that's great, but you can get there, and you can
Yes.
totally be like Belle here in the picture there, and in this wonderful costume, or you can be Wonder Woman, and you know nothing can
Yay.
stop you, and you know you can defeat villains and run into Ninja Turtles and
Right.
everybody else, and yeah, like I like their like one of them I noticed it like one's different color, they're all slightly different colors, and I'm like the orange one is more orangey green, and then like depending on the colors, and they're like the ones from the Nickelodeon. But you can be anybody in cosplay, and then it's like, especially when going to cons, if you've never been and you're like I'm intimidated, I'm like just find the first cosplay you see that you like. Like I ran into Deadpool, and I'm like, hey Deadpool, you want some chimichangas? And then instantly Deadpool is gonna respond back with, where's the chimichangas at? And I go, oh I lied, I
Right.
don't have any. Like the costume though. Then you've made a rapport, and
Right.
it's like, don't be afraid. Ask, talk, communicate. That's
Yes.
one of my
Totally.
things.
Yeah. I mean, everybody just wants to be friendly and just wants to have fun and just enjoy with everything that they're doing. I mean, it is for us and it is for other people to enjoy. I think that cosplaying, it just lets you be who you are on the inside
Yeah.
so you can show it on the outside, and I love it. I I always get very ambitious, and I'm not done with one, and then I start doing another, and I go back and forth, and that's pretty much our life.
It's like
Like
a
we're
lot.
always gonna be
It's like a lot of Latin. It'll be like cons on Friday, Thursday night at midnight. So now it's Friday. Oh God, I've only got this many hours, and I've got to get this fan table set up. Do I have everything? And then you're like checking everything, and then you're panicked, and your friends like trying to tell you to breathe, and you're like, leave me alone. I'm so panicked and stressed, and you're having like a panic attack for a moment, and you're freaking out. Then you realize you've done something backwards, and you're like, well, I've got to fix this. And then come time for the
right.
con, and my thing is at con when I run a booth or do something and I'm doing a panel, I'm like, well, I consider myself working, so I'm like, well, I'm working and I'm social networking and communicating, and it's like, and then I realized I've had the best weekend of my life, no matter depending on no matter the con, but depending on the stories, it's like, man, this is the best weekend of my life right now because it's
Right.
I can be myself, and I don't have to explain to. I'm not at work where I have to explain to people this is Dungeons and Dragons. Well, why do you pretend to be somebody else? Well, because of this reason, and because of this, and so I don't have to sit there and explain to somebody why I'm this or what I'm doing. they understand because they're just like you in this in a similar fashion.
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just got a phone call. My mom was calling me.
Oh well, thanks for coming on, and once again, guys, she is. Let's see here. We're gonna do it this way. Adventure Aurora
Ventura Aurora.
at on Instagram.
Aurora.
Aurora. Yeah, like I can't say
Yeah.
I have problems saying jewelry too. It's like it sounds like I'm saying jewelry, and so yeah, Adventure Aurora on Instagram, and you can find her on Twitter at Dafnek17. We do appreciate you coming on, and be sure to
Thank
check us
you.
out at Borg Beham Guys, and follow our YouTube channel. If we get 100 subscribers, guys, we can change our YouTube name from letters and random numbers and probably symbols to Borg Beham, and that's what we're aiming to do. We're not asking for your money, guys, because right now we are okay. We just became we applied for nonprofit status for our nonprofit group. So thanks for coming on, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Okay, thank you, you
You're
too.
welcome.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Thanks for watching, guys.